For today's episode, we are going to zone in on the classic PS2 game. Well, in honesty, it's a classic video game period. Crazy Taxi. For the purposes of this video, I'm playing the PS2 version of the game, and I'm doing this using the original hardware. So that's an official PlayStation 2 and a disc version of Crazy Taxi that I've plugged in and booted up and all that fun stuff. Crazy Taxi was originally an arcade game, and when I was growing up it was just as popular as all the other big arcade games at the time, like Time Crisis. So if you wanted to play this game, you normally had to find either an arcade or a bowling alley or some sort of like venue that basically had a big arcade gaming section. You then normally had to queue up and then drop a couple of pounds into a massive machine. Normally with something like Crazy Taxi, you'd have be like a racing car set up, so you'd get an actual driver's seat, you put your money in, and then you would just start the game up and it'd be like you drive a race car essentially. And it was pretty simple. You put some quid in and then you would just try and beat the high score. Whatever the high score was in that arcade machine, you just aim for that. The concept of this game was incredibly simple. You are a taxi driver. Your goal is to get as many passengers as possible and take them to their destination before your time runs out. It was awesome, as you can probably see from the footage that we're going to be playing here. Now, it's awesome, it still is awesome. The game itself, to be honest with you, isn't very hard to play. You didn't have to learn a lot of controls or anything like that. You pretty much could accelerate, reverse, brake, and then navigate the car by turning left, right, and all other fun stuff. But that's pretty much it. There was no other sort of extra skill buttons or anything like that, or any other weird combinations you had to learn. Now, despite the game not being too difficult to control or hard in like a traditional sense, if you wanted to get the highest score possible, you would need to actually practice and work out routines and pathways and learn what type of customers you're going to get to actually get the high score and master the game. So every time you played the game, certain characters would, generally speaking, always be in the same place. So you'd always start the game in pretty much the exact same spot, and there'd be probably around about 10 characters that you knew would always be in that exact same space, and you eventually, just from playing the game, would work out, right, if I see this character, they're going to want to go to this location, they're going to want to go to like a Pizza Hut, they're going to want to go to, you know, the church or anything like that. And you could literally just work out their routes really quickly, and when you start the game you can pick and choose who you knew you could get to really easily, no problem. However, as you got deeper into the level, you would start to get random duplicates. The best example I tend to find is the priest. So, of course, if it's a priest, he's going to want to go to the church. Now, normally, when you first see the priest, he's a little bit of distance away from the church. He's not too far away, and it's pretty easy to do. But then sometimes you'd actually just see the priest chilling out an inch away from the church, and other times he'd be a good couple of miles away. So, as you played the game, you start to learn these characters, you start to learn where they'd want to go, and you straight away be able to recognise, okay, right, so that's going to be the heavy metal rocker, he's going to want to go to the record store. So if you knew the level well enough and you knew where the record store was in relation to where you were, you could actually make a judgment call and say, actually, I'm not going to make this one, this time I'm going to leave that guy behind, or I can make this destination, I can't. So you had to kind of balance all this stuff out, basically, and then work out what would be the best route. I also did do some research, and this game, so the PS2 version that you're currently looking at that I'm playing, this is literally a direct port of the Dreamcast game, but it does differ slightly from the arcade version. A lot of people think it's the exact same version. It's not. What they did is expand the levels and added more little bits and pieces into the actual console version of the game because they had more memory to work with. So you got more bang for your buck basically if you've got a console version of the game. I also did do some research, and this game, so the PS2 version that you're currently looking at that I'm playing, this is literally a direct port of the Dreamcast game, but it does differ slightly from the arcade version. A lot of people think it's the exact same version. It's not. What they did is expand the levels and added more little bits and pieces into the actual console version of the game because they had more memory to work with. So you got more bang for your buck basically if you've got a console version of the game. The other thing they did as well, which I don't remember if you could do this in the arcade version, but there was a series of mini games. I'm pretty sure in the arcade version you just could play the main title of the game, which was racing around, dropping people off and stuff. But there were a series of mini games in the console version as well. These mini games, unlike the main game, were ridiculously hard and a lot harder than the actual game itself. I never really mastered them, as you can probably tell from our footage. They were really difficult to do. So, I mean, it's really funny now because like I looked on, I think I looked on YouTube, and there are people making guides just on how to actually finish these mini games. And even when you look at a guide, these little mini games of trying to jump things and drift into things and pop balloons and stuff, they are still incredibly hard to do. It's just, yeah, they're fun, but they're quite difficult to do. Now, what's also cool about this game is the game's legacy. Crazy Taxi ended up coming to many consoles, like the GameCube, the PlayStation, obviously, because we're playing it on the PlayStation, and even a PC port was made. However, let's say you've been looking at this video and you think this looks quite cool, it looks quite fun, and you want to play this game today. Well, you can, of course, buy a PlayStation 2 second-hand, because they don't basically manufacture them anymore, but you can still get a good deal on those. I'll link some of those down in the description in case you do want to get a retro console. Do recommend it, they're good fun, and there's massive libraries. But anyway, let's say you just go, you know what, I want to play Crazy Taxi. You can play this game right now for free. Yeah, the entire game is completely free, completely legally, because it's part of the Sega Forever program. So if you don't know, Sega Forever is a program that started up in 2017 by Sega, and what they've been doing is remaking, in most cases, and re-releasing classic games from the Sega back catalogue for free on mobile phones under the banner of Sega Forever. So if you go into your Play Store, your App Store, on iOS or Android, you will be able to find Crazy Taxi is one of the free games as part of Sega Forever, and you can just download it and play it for free, which is just, that's awesome. It's also kind of crazy when you think that it's a console game, like it's literally a port of the console game. It's got the mini games and everything, it's the entire game, and it's somehow, by modern standards, been squeezed down into your phone. I don't think my teenage self would be able to comprehend the fact that I could carry a PlayStation 2 game or a Dreamcast game in my pocket, which is mad. If I told myself that when I was younger, I don't think I'd believe it, but you can do that now. You can actually download this game for free, which is awesome. One thing to note about the mobile version of this game, it has touchscreen controls, which, yeah, it's not as good as having a controller, obviously. It's still pretty good, it's very responsive, it's better than most touchscreen control mobile games that you have out there. But I have tested it and have checked it out. You can get wireless controllers and pair those to your iPhone or your Android, and that will give you a better way to play the game as well, basically. So you could do that if you prefer having a controller, or you can do the whole touchscreen thing. Whichever's easier, you know, play it with both. So I would say this is easily one of the best games ever made, period. I'm a big fan of this game. I love it. It's very simple. It doesn't take a long time to learn, but it's really difficult and does take some time to master. And the main thing is, it's simple, it's fun. How many games can you name that you can literally just pop into your games console, boot up, you don't have to think about it, and you're going to have a good time just playing it and experiencing it? This is one of those games, a simple arcade game, very easy, very fun. And if you missed out, this is definitely time to check it out, especially when you can get a free copy on your mobile phone. You've got nothing to lose, just do it. If you liked this video, please like, share and subscribe. Thanks guys, and I'll see you soon.